bike back apart, and the mission is to get this thing bled today. I'm gonna start it off with probably filling the caliper up with brake fluid once we get it mounted with the line on, and then I'll just start literally reverse bleeding this thing right away to get some of that air out of there, because with it being a 4-piston, I think it just traps so much air into this caliper in weird spots. So I think the only way we're gonna be able to get around that is to use this reverse bleeding, but let's get it.
All right, now I know some of you guys are probably thinking we could have just re-tapped that bleeder screw into the caliper a little bit of a bigger size, but it would be a pain to find that fitting right now, and the possibility of it still leaking, it just wasn't worth it for a $50 caliper. So we got our new caliper thrown on there, and we're gonna be doing a bench style bleed, keeping it up because that bleeder screw is at the lowest point. We're gonna be doing a vacuum bleed and a reverse bleed. So we're filling our syringe up here with brake fluid, and then we're gonna take the air out of the line by holding it vertical and pushing all the air up until it is solid brake fluid. Then we're gonna fill that caliper up with fluid from the back. That way we're not just pushing the air down trying to get it out of the master reservoir. And then we can also vacuum bleed using this tool. So you can hold the brake lever in, crack it, and then pull it through like that. So that's pretty much what we were doing up here, and we got this thing so dialed in now. We end up going with the Amazon lever that I originally bought before, because this is what I used on a few bikes and it actually worked really good, and I didn't want to risk using another used master cylinder like the GP1 because there was still a bunch of gunk in the bottom of that reservoir. So I'm using a Suni R pipe bracket here to replicate what our disc rotor would, and I'm holding it up into the air, keeping the bleeder screw at the highest point. This is the exact thickness of our brake rotor, so it actually worked out perfect. And then we can just throw it on without having to take everything back off the rear end. So now we got everything on there with our brakes actually bled, and we're putting our wheel on to see where we have to trim this time on that bleeder thing, and we don't want to knock it off. So I'm using a file and trimming down that bleeder screw just a little bit. It actually needs to only be like a millimeter or two. I end up going all the way till where the mushroom tip was originally that kept that hose on there when you bleed. So I kept that little lip on there, and it clears our wheel perfect now. I took about like 2, maybe 3 millimeters max off of there, and just used a hand file and got that dialed in. Now we're gonna use a little bit more metal to make an exhaust bracket here. We need to trim away at the exhaust where that black Sharpie mark is, so our rubber mount, our vibration mount, actually clears on the pipe, which it does now. So we're good there. The front one holds it in tight. We already got it bolted down to the cylinder. Now this bracket just kind of needs to retain a little bit more weight off the exhaust, and we used it like this, but the washers were hitting on the silencer, so I'm coming in here with a countersink drill bit to drill those out, and then those little washers sit flush in there now. It looks so good. All right, we now have everything mounted up on this bike, so it should finally be at the stage of rideable. We've done a lot of heat cycles on it now, probably 5 or 6.